Pretty much any mechanic in the country can tell you that we have a shortage of technicians. I'm just one of them, and I happen to own a small mechanics business in Florida. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about why we have a technician shortage, where it's coming from, and maybe what we can do about it going forward. Now, this problem has many legs, and the legs all kind of combine together. They're not any one person's fault. It's kind of like a conglomeration of all these different things that come together and create the shortage that we're experiencing right now. And some of it is about the manufacturers, some of it is about, just how hard it is to work on cars today, some of it is about the education, some of it is about the costs involved. As far as the manufacturers go, one of the main things that they have done that has caused the shortage is they've increased labor times. So every car is engineered to a point now to where a job that used to take 2 or 3 hours may take 10 to 12 hours. And while that may not sound so bad because cars are a lot more complicated now and people expect more complicated vehicles, that causes a shortage of technicians, because when you could use one technician to do a job in 2 hours and now you require 12 hours worth of technician, that's 6 technicians for the same 2 hours. That right there creates a shortage in and of itself. The second thing is that manufacturers are starting to lock out small shops and small mechanics and backyard mechanics from being able to work on their own vehicles. And when you don't have the ability to grow up working on your own cars, and you don't have the ability to grow up working on other people's cars, it's really hard to get into this industry. You have to know so much in this industry that even automotive mechanic school is not enough for someone to actually go out and work on a technician's line. Most dealerships don't even start people out doing regular dealership work. They start them out doing oil changes and brake jobs and tire rotations and tire changes. It takes years for a technician at a dealership to work up from being a lube tech all the way up to being like an A tech or a master tech, or a technician that even is trusted with doing, alternator swaps, timing jobs, head jobs, and stuff like that. And it's understandable because it's a huge learning curve. And if we don't learn properly, then we break stuff. And when we break stuff, it costs a lot of money. I mean, it used to be that you could get like a crate motor 350 if you blew it up for $500. And sure, $500 was more money back in the day than it is today. But that doesn't change the fact that in the 90s you could buy a crate motor 350 and you could have it delivered to your place for like $500 or $600. If you took that and you multiplied it out to today's money, that would be kind of like getting a brand new motor for like $1,500. You'd be lucky if you find a brand new motor right now, or if you find a motor right now under 50,000 miles at a junkyard for less than $1,500. And that's if you go pull it yourself in some cases. I mean, it depends upon where you are and what's available. But where I am in Florida, that's about what it is. That's not the only thing causing the problem. I mean, today's technicians have to know a lot more about everything in order to work on an automobile. It used to be that a mechanic was just somebody who worked on mechanical stuff, and all we had to know was this gear goes with that gear and these bolts go to those bolts and they bolt together and then boom, it works. And once in a while you had to adjust a carburetor, or you had to do a little bit of cleaning on this or cleaning on that, clean some points, clean a distributor cap, put a new coil on, something like that. But they were all relatively simple and easy. The entire systems were cut down into just a tiny small fraction of parts. The ignition on an old car would be something as simple as like an ignition switch to a relay to a coil, and then the car would start. I mean, there's just not all that much that goes into the old systems. And nowadays you have 5 or 10 different modules that are involved, and there's all these different backup, signals that have to come to a new car, and all these different things in order to get an automobile to start and run properly. And that's creating a bottleneck, because it used to be that someone with an IQ of, according to Jordan Peterson, 85, if I am quoting him correctly, could be a parts changer or a mechanic and could just hang parts on automobiles and fix things. Nowadays, that's not so true. I think you have to have an IQ that's above average now to be a good technician. You have to be able to understand that in modern cars, things like voltage drop and resistance across wires and across other things. These things are all things that you didn't have to know way back in the day. It was 12 volts, it was 12 volts. Nowadays you got to know 12 volts, plus you got to know what type of ohms it is. And you have to understand oscilloscopes and other types of lab equipment, because you have to be able to check sensors and data coming out of different things. So basically that's just the electrical side. Then there's all the computers you have to understand, how all the sensors relate to each other. And then you've got all the cooling system, you've got the AC systems, you've got the actual mechanical parts that go along with it. And it's just so much in one little package that it's kind of like working on a space shuttle, because cars today have more computers in them than the shuttles or the rockets that took us to the moon. And I know people say that all the time. Oh, my cell phone has more computer in it than the rocket that took us to the moon. That's true. But automotive cars today have miles and miles of electrical wires and CAN bus systems and computers. And when I say computers, I mean modules. And all these things have to talk together. And if they don't talk together properly, if one little thing goes off, then the car stops working on a modern car. And that's not the way it used to be. It used to be that if something went wrong, you could still get your car, let's say, to the mechanic before the car shut down. Nowadays, cars shut down on their own. There's just so many more systems. And people are like, oh, well, all you do is hook it to that computer and everything's going to be fine because it's going to tell you what to do. But that's not the way the computer system works. All the computer does is tells you, this is what I'm missing, or this is what's not right. Now go find out why. If it's a timing code, it could be 100 different things that are causing it. The same goes with low voltage codes and other codes in the computer. So basically everything has to be diagnosed, and we start with the diagnostic trouble code. And that takes someone who's got some experience, which is not something that many mechanics that are coming into the field today have. The automotive trade schools and stuff, that's another part of the problem, I would say, because they're, in my experience, not teaching the people who are going through them how to actually be mechanics or how to actually be technicians. They're showing them, oh, this is how you put brakes on a car. This is how you do that on a car. Read this book, take this exam. Oh, cool, you passed the exam. I guess you finished the class. Here's your certification. Now go out there and do something. And then they get out into the field and you put them on a simple brake job, and then the client comes back an hour or two later because it's making a lot of noise and something's not right, and you find out some caliper bolts are missing or something's loose, or the tire's falling off because they didn't torque the wheel down properly. And you ask them, well, didn't you go to school for this? And they say, well, yeah, I went to school for this. Well, what happened to these parts? Oh, I thought they were tight. I thought it was okay. That's the problem. We need a certain amount of mistakes as mechanics and as technicians in order to really be good at what we do. Until you put a torque converter in wrong and tighten the transmission bell housing up to the motor and smush the pump and had fluid pour out everywhere, it's really hard to understand why the torque converter has to seat 3 times. These are the types of things that it takes time for mechanics to learn. Another part of the problem with the shortage is in 2008 and 2009, when everybody should have been retiring, we should have been hiring new young mechanics. But in 2008, 2009, we had a financial crisis, and all the older mechanics lost all their money and their savings. They lost their home value. They lost all this stuff in the financial crisis that hit us because of the housing crisis. And so they decided to stay working. And then we didn't hire more mechanics to fill the slot as they were moving up. So the people who had already been working from the late 90s to the early 2000s still kept working, and they worked with them. That's all your 35 and 45-ish year old mechanics nowadays. They're the ones who started during that time. And those are basically the ones that we have left. The ones at the very bottom of the pool there's some really great young mechanics that are coming up. I'm not trying to say there aren't any. But as far as the numbers go, they're nowhere near what they used to be. And that's not really the fault of the younger generation, because they've been dropped into a technical field that really requires the skill level of almost an aircraft mechanic. And we're expecting them to go to 6, 8, 12, 16 weeks of schooling and to just suddenly have 15 years of experience. And that's not the way that it works in this field. But here's the problem. If I hire a new mechanic straight out of school with my business and I put them out on the line, if they make a mistake and they blow up a $10,000 engine, guess who gets to pay for that engine? It's not the client, it's me. And I can't afford that on a technician that I'm not even going to make $10,000 on an entire year. I mean, I could run a technician for 2 or 3 years and possibly make money on them after the 2nd or 3rd year. If they were really good and I got really lucky, or I had interviews and just happened to get the right person, sure, I might be able to get somebody who will make me money in the 1st year. But one mistake, and they've wiped it all out for years. Shops have a lot of costs, and dealerships stick technicians in low-level entry jobs when they first start. It takes them forever to move up. And small independent shops, we have a hard time hiring those new technicians because we don't really have a lube tech position. We don't have a position where someone can just do brakes, or they can just do, oil changes, or they can just do tire rotations. Most small independent shops will work on just about any car. Now, my shop, we've cut out European automobiles and we've cut out a few other automobiles. And the reason why we cut those out was because they were taking way too long for us to get done, and we were having to put all of our other customers off because the cars were getting too complicated. And they required too much specialty equipment. I'm a small shop. I can't afford to spend $10,000 on every single brand of automobile every year to get the newest, latest, and greatest technology. I can't get on the Snap-on truck and spend $100,000 a year. I mean, some systems have to be done by the dealership, and there's nothing we can do about it. So we're going to have to send some of our customers to the dealership no matter what. And these are all just things that kind of tie together. And at the end of the day, those aren't even really the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that technicians are not happy. They don't feel like they're getting paid enough to do what they have to do, and I don't disagree with them. I mean, you could become an AC technician and make more money or even money to being an automotive technician, but the job will be a lot easier and your technical expertise cover a much smaller range. You could become a plumber, and although it's intense and doing plumbing is not an easy job by any stretch if you're doing new construction or setting up buildings or laying lines the very first time, but generally speaking, plumbing can be done with a much smaller skill set than an automotive technician. Basically, every single job that the mechanic has to do, he has to learn. He has to be kind of a computer or a software engineer in some ways. He has to be kind of an electrician in some ways. It's a lot of technical expertise for somebody who gets paid as little as technicians at the entry level get paid. As shops, we're having trouble keeping technicians and paying them enough money because we're having trouble charging enough money to keep and pay the small technicians. And that's another part of the problem, is that no one's learning when they're young, so when we're bringing them into the shops now, it's costing us more money and we can't afford it. I only have one other mechanic that works with me, and he's a really great mechanic. He's 25, almost 26 years old, or maybe he just turned 26. Best Chevy mechanic I know. He has more knowledge in his brain about Chevrolet and everything to do with them than just about any mechanic I've ever met. I don't mean that he could go up against a master tech on the brand new line and talk about the 2024 to 2026s at the same level that somebody who went to school for 6 months for it can talk about it. That's not what I mean. I mean his knowledge goes all the way back to the 60s and the 70s, and he knows almost every make and model from that point to now because he's obsessed with Chevrolet. But those people are rare, and he got his start working in the garage with his dad when he was a kid. And we just don't have a lot of that anymore. His father was a mechanic, so he got a job as a mechanic when he got older. And it worked out really well for him, and he works out pretty well with my business. But in 4 years, he's the only one I've found that I could hire. And it's not that I couldn't hire somebody else. Everybody is going to comment down below, and they're going to yell at me and scream at me about how if I just looked around, I could find good technicians. I've interviewed a lot of technicians over the years, and just interviewing them is not easy when you're a small shop. Technicians want to be in somewhere that's got a real big air-conditioned bay. They want benefits. They want good pay. They want guaranteed work. They want lots of things that are reasonable. It's reasonable. But in a small independent shop, I can't pay you an hourly rate right now because I don't have $280 a day to pay you if we don't get any work. So I pay slightly different by the hour. And I don't like flat rate tech stuff, but it's all that a small shop can generally afford. Now, people in big shops and people in the million-dollar shops and stuff, they'll probably come on here and tell you that I'm wrong, that if I just hired some technicians and I just set my procedures and processes up, that everything would work great. And it would, if I could find the techs. But I can't seem to find the technicians. And sure, I could look harder, and I'm sure if I dug deeper, I could go snipe one from the dealership or whatever. But that's not the point. The point is it's really hard to find them, and it's really hard to trust them. And I'm already on the edge of getting out of this business because my body's breaking down. I'm wearing out. My joints hurt every day when I wake up. My hands are swollen. I've always got cuts and grease, and I'm around all types of toxins. I want to be here for my grandkids. You know what I mean? I don't want to disappear tomorrow, and neither do the other technicians. We all want to be here for our grandkids. We want to be here to enjoy life. We don't want to suffer and die from toxins and other problems that we're getting from being on the job. And if we are going to do that, then we want to be compensated properly. We want to be treated well. We want to be compensated. We don't want to be called liars. We don't want everybody getting mad at us. We don't want our hours being cut because somebody doesn't like the amount of money they have to spend. It wasn't our car. We didn't design it. We didn't build it. We didn't sell it. We didn't buy it. We didn't break it. We're just being asked to fix it. If everyone would just understand that, then technicians would probably have an easier time. But the stress is there. And part of it is because we have a technician shortage, because as technicians, we don't get a break. Every technician has family members. Every technician has friends. Every technician has somebody who calls them up and says, hey, you're a mechanic. I got XYZ going on with my car. Can you help me fix it? And we all want to just hang up the phone and say, I'm on vacation, or it's my weekend, or I'm tired. No, not doing it. But most of us, we answer the call. We talk to our friends. We help them through it. They wind up coming over on our day off. We work on the vehicle on our day off, or we catch up on something else on our day off, like a warranty job that we get to work on for free because something went wrong with the job that we did before, and now we're responsible for fixing it. And it's Understandable too, because when somebody pays a lot of money to have an automobile fixed, they expect it to be fixed right. But we're dealing with parts problems now that we didn't have to deal with in the past. So if you get the wrong parts, the part goes bad, guess what? You still have to do the job over again. It's not your fault that the part went bad. It's got to be a manufacturing defect. It's got to be quality control issues. But it doesn't matter. It's not your fault, but you still got to fix it. And then there's however many hours you got paid for that job that you get to do all over again, but this time you don't get paid for it. And if you have to buy any specific parts for that job, guess what? Those parts come out of your pocket because that's part of the warranty. So we've got a whole slew of things that are coming together to create this shortage that we have of technicians. If you're a technician, tell me what you think the shortage is because of in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you work at a dealership, tell me what you think about what I've said. If you work at a small independent shop, tell me what you think about what I said. I want to hear from all of you and see what you think, but from what I've seen over the years, the biggest problems are people aren't learning at home anymore. The schools are not teaching what they need to teach. The automobiles are becoming overly complicated. Labor times are increasing and requiring more mechanics to do the same jobs. And the stress level and job satisfaction for mechanics are stress levels through the roof, job satisfaction's in the toilet. Now, I recorded this video already. It was like 35 minutes long, and I went in to edit it, and I realized that the focus was off, and I couldn't put out another defocused video. I put out a video that had just 5 or 10 seconds of bad focus in the very beginning, and the drop off on that video was insane. People didn't even want to watch because there was a little bit of misfocus in the very beginning. So I came out to record this one again. I hope I hit all the topics the same way, but we have a huge technician shortage, and it's going to get worse, especially as people my age begin to retire, because our bodies are already hurting and the stress load just keeps building over and over and over again on our shoulders, and the costs aren't going down. But as shop owners, we need to make sure we're treating the technicians with respect and dignity and that we pay them appropriately. My technician makes pretty good money when he's working, and he has work just about any time that he wants. But he's not going to get an 8-hour day in any day of the week because there's just not enough time in the day for him to go bust out 8 hours worth of work. He can make 4 hours or 6 hours in a single day, and he gets paid quite a bit of money per hour, so that's enough for him. But that's me, and I work really close to the margin to keep my technician well fed and well paid. Most shops can't do that because they've got too much other overhead. See, I take care of all the phone calls, all the marketing, advertising, business paperwork. I do all the estimates, I do all the billing, and I turn wrenches. So for me, I do all that stuff so my mechanic can have a better life. And he still does some of the billing, he still does some of the estimating, and he still does some of the customer contact stuff. It's just a hard industry to be in right now, and it's really stressful, and it weighs on us, and it's painful, it's physically demanding, and it wears your body out. Technicians don't usually make it to 50 or 60 working on the line. I very rarely ever even see a technician my age anymore that's actually still working on the line. 45 is pretty old. I'm not there yet, but 45 is pretty old for working on an actual line doing line tech stuff. Most people at that age or older, they're in the master tech range, and they're telling other technicians what to do. They're running the shop floor, they're the foreman of the shop or whatever, or they just become a service advisor and start service advising, or they leave there and they go get a job managing a place like AutoZone. And that's fine, that's okay, but it means we're losing more good technicians and we're losing more good knowledge. So next time you see a mechanic who's still working on a line, thank them. Let them know that you appreciate them, because without them, cars wouldn't be on the road and we'd all be at a standstill. Freedom relies on automobiles, so freedom relies on mechanics. That's pretty much it for today. It's the official gobbledygook. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and don't forget to go out and learn something, do something, and teach something. Ta-ta for now. That's the way that it works, and I don't know what to tell you about it.